Yeah, there's
100
3 hands up.
181. I'm going to pick one on here. I don't know why people from outside the community on here. I'm seeing names from outside the community.
That's probably because someone shared the link.
Well, you know, they because I can see gallery view. Okay, well, at this point, I think, okay, I've got a confirmation that I can be heard. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. My name is Joe Hankins. I'm the developer of the Two Rivers project. I'm here with Marilee Tortorelli, who's been the engineer since pretty much the beginning of the project, back to 2006, I believe, 2007. We asked to have this meeting with the community to provide an update. As many are aware, that we had indicated some time ago that we were looking to incorporate additional sections in the Two Rivers, and we have begun moving forward with that process. And we have submitted an application for pre-submission meetings. We have not submitted plans to the county yet, but it's the first steps, which require community meetings of a technical nature. Those meetings are pretty limited in scope. With the engineer puts on technical information, and typically we will most likely have it's usually comments are received by the county via email, but we usually open them up and we'll address comments that are directly related to the technical presentation that Marilee puts on Wednesday, the 17th. People are interested, and that it seemed like a lot of comments may not be directly related. Comments, questions may not be directly related to that meeting. We asked to set up this meeting with the community, where we just show you what's going on. And you're welcome to come out Wednesday, but this would have been more of a forum as we get through this presentation. We're going to open it up to questions and take some questions and concerns, and let you know how things are moving forward through this process. We'll be working with the board, and the board will be working with the community as we move forward through this process. What you're seeing on the screen is the current Two Rivers community. Generally, it's a community of 2,000. The property was approved back in 2006, and we've done subsequent revisions where 2,000 currently have been platted for 2,060 units, while the property does have a zoning of 2,437 units. Okay. What we're proposing down in the right-hand corner. Do you see my cursor on the screen, Marilee, when I move it around?
No.
Okay. Parcel O, when I go to it, you'll just have to go to Parcel O, which had been proposed to be in prior approvals, proposed to be a golf course and/or an environmental park. We are now going to be developing it into the additional 377 lots that remain on the density of the property. Can you go to the next slide, Marilee? These sections are located off Grays Ford Road, Parcel O, and are going to consist of two two different projects. One will be a village, one will be a hamlet. The phase one, they're being processed as two separate applications, will be 195 age-restricted units, and phase two will be 182 non-age-restricted units. They will be incorporated pursuant to the master declaration for the community into the Two Rivers project. Marilee, can you get
My mic's not on.
this? Okay. This slide shows the additional lots being added to the project and their location. And the next, generally this parcel will be accessed via Grays Ford Road. And go for slide 5. And travel Meyer Station Road for their general access to the community. Generally, this is proposed to, I'm not going to get into the technical stuff, which we'll get into Wednesday, but they'll be serviced by water and sewer within the existing infrastructure of Two Rivers. Those are specifics we don't really need to get into now, but we'll get into Wednesday. I know there's been a number of questions about traffic and schools, amenities, and as we move through this process, all of these items will be addressed. We're required to meet what they call adequate public facilities under the subdivision regulations of Anne Arundel County. APF is what I'll refer to it as we're moving through here. That APF for roadways, schools, storm drains, that's all testing that needs to be done as we move through this process. There may be mitigation requirements, improvements that need to be done, but it will be being addressed during this process. That is being heard loud from the community, and it is required under this process. As I had mentioned, our covenant, our documents that we have in place, our declarations, they anticipate an expandable community, okay? The amenities in this project. You want to go to the amenity slide, Marilee? Slide 7.
This one.
Okay. There's been questions about the amenities. Generally, when this project was originally planned, the 2,060 units anticipated no more than 1,200 non-age restricted lots and no less than 800, but anticipated that either of these facilities could see roughly 1,260 units coming into them. Go to the next slide, Marilee, 8. The design capacity of these facilities are typically based, there's no real given state or county law, there's an industry standard. The age-restricted clubhouse is 15,000 square feet, and the typical standard for designing an age-restricted clubhouse is about 10 square feet per unit, and a non-age-restricted 7 square feet a unit, as you see footnoted at the bottom of this page. That generally related into age-restricted lot capacities of these two subdivisions of 1,500 lots and 1,571. As I'd mentioned, we had always planned to be somewhere at 1,260. The current platted lots are 999 and 1,061, and the additional lots in Parcel O, there will be 195 age-restricted and 182 non-age-restricted lots under our current plan, which will bring the proposed total lots up to 1,194 age-restricted and 1,243 non-age-restricted, which is still under the general capacity of these amenities. Now, I know that's going to strike a lot of nerves here about this particular item, but I wanted to share this information with you. The one thing this bringing more lots in does, it allows the opportunity for additional revenues coming in. As you all know, that the HOA fees have been a challenge out here, maintaining them and keeping them consistent. These lots will bring in an additional $900,000 annually in HOA fees. Each of the respective facilities will see about $140,000 a year in additional income against costs that are primarily fixed at this point. Okay. Secondly, the master will see about $600,000 in revenues coming in, with approximately $400,000 worth of cost for the additional area that's added to the project. Lastly, we understand this. We understand that there is concern, and as we add these lots, we will be making an amenity contribution. We will be working with the board, addressing these concerns. We've been hearing hearing people discuss additional amenities, items throughout the community, whether it's master, whether it's hamlet or village related, and we will be making a contribution to the community, an amenity fund contribution for capital improvements to amenities. That dollar amount is still under discussion, but we will be working with the board and implementing, and actually providing funds for an account for these, for whatever amenities may need to be added to the community. Okay. Marilee, can you go to slide number 9? I've heard some random taking rec area, they're taking open space. This community has significant open space above and beyond, open space and rec area beyond what the requirements are of the subdivision regulations. We still have to meet all of those requirements, okay? From the first slide, open space, you can see under the new scenario with adding these lots, we'll have an open space requirement of 316 acres. We already have existing overall open space of 629 acres, and this proposes to add another 40 to that total, which will bring the total overall open space up to 669 acres. That's 117% more than is required under the subdivision regulations. As far as the rec areas, they're small rec areas. Now, this doesn't count playgrounds, sitting areas. This is generally trails and/or areas that are identified as active rec area. We have an overall rec area requirement of 28 acres. We actually have an existing active rec area of 39 acres. Proposed active rec area that we added in with these parcel O is another 2.7 acres, bringing our total up to 41.9 acres, almost 42 acres, which is again 50% more than is required under the subdivision regulations. Some of these things that we want to make sure people understand that we will be meeting these regulations. That's a requirement. The county will impose that on us. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I didn't think this would take very long to present. I want to hear questions, Marilee, and I will be, as people put their hands up, I guess we got to go to some kind of view here where we can see people. If you've noticed your question's been answered, I would ask that you, if you've heard a question answered, it pertains to what you may want to be asking, I'd ask you to let somebody have an opportunity. We'll be taking, we'll see how this goes and we'll answer accordingly. And what we can't answer, we will get back to you. We're noted. Can we see? I can't see anybody.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I can see them, their hands are raised under attendees.
Okay, I got them on the, I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna go right down with Diane, well, when somebody change that view, stop changing the view.
You see that? That has all the people.
Where?
On the screen, can you see with all the people with their hands raised?
Well, I had them, I lost them because somebody changed the view on me.
Oh, I started. Okay, I'll stop sharing them.
Stop sharing, okay? Marilee, I'm out for some reason. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, you go ahead and take the names as they're going down the list. I can't see them.
Yeah. Pam Waybright has a question.
If you could state your address, please, and where you're at. Now, do we have to turn their mic on? I guess we have to turn their mic on. Okay, I'm gonna go with, I got you, Colin. I don't see it. Colin, when you're done, could you mute, please? Diana? Diana?
She has to unmute.
Okay. How about Bill Rossiter?
Yeah, hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we live at 1519 Catbrier Way. It's my wife Erica sitting next to me. We've been here 4 years now. The obvious question that occurs to me, you know, after having spent 4 years experiencing the joys of driving up and down Conway Road,
Everything.
you know, what is going to be done to deal with the additional traffic? As I understand it, in fact, you said yourself, it's going to, you know, be routed through the traffic circle down there, at which point it's going to be competing with all the existing traffic on the section of Conway Road between the circle and Route 3, which is where most people are going, although some of them will be going down Patuxent Road as well. But, you know, I just don't understand how you can take a road that's already so obviously overtaxed as Conway and then expect that you can, you know, build 100 units with the ensuing traffic from those units and expect the roads to suffice. It seems to me that, you know, something more needs to be done than just, well, we'll study it and, you know, then and decide then what to do. It seems to me it's something we all ought to be thinking about right now.
Bill, thank you for your question. It's not just studying it, okay? During the subdivision process, there is a traffic impact study done. And that study will indicate what improvements will need to happen, okay? and there's testing done through that process. And those improvements are then identified and implemented for us to gain our approvals. So it's not just a matter of a study.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay,
But when
I
those
mean-
improvements are done, if they are, it's
Okay,
gonna
who's talking? Who's
His
talking?
wife, his wife.
wife, Erica
Okay, okay.
Rossler.
follow-on question.
Okay.
It's gonna take years for the roads to get developed to meet that traffic.
Generally, the improvements that we have to install as the developer as part of the approval of the plans will need to be bonded and are built as we are developing the property, okay? So if there's additional improvements that are warranted under the studies, the subdivision regulations requires us to implement them. Now, there is a project in process under the county, the capital project being done for upgrading Conway Road. That is a capital project. I cannot speak to the time frame of that, but I know it's in design and moving forward.
You.
Thank you, Bill.
Do you want Diane again? Because I think I can
Diane, if you can. Okay, Paul Baker.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Live at 2962 Levy Drive. I'm sitting here with my wife Patricia. And my question is, presently developers control the board until 70% of the homes are sold. Will adding more homes now mean the developers will control the board for a longer time?
Oh, good question. The answer is it's 75%. And we do not control, the developer does not run this board. Now, we have 2 seats on the board, but we do not run the board. You are an HOA managed and controlled by the homeowners.
You don't approve the candidates?
I'm sorry?
You do not approve the candidates who run for
We have
office on the
voting
board?
rights, but we don't approve them.
They approve. See, there's these.
So what level of control will you maintain to make those decisions about the increased capacity of clubhouses, for example, or the increased expenditures to allow for a 30% increase in users?
We don't have any control over that now with respect to the costs.
You don't approve the dues? You have nothing to say about our dues or?
I am a member of the board of directors,
Yes, sir.
which is a collaboration of a number of people, and I'm one vote on that board. Your community is self-managed.
Thank you.
Bill Rossiter?
We already did, Bill.
Okay, well, sorry, Gary Spurrier.
Yes, this is actually Mary Spurrier. My husband is Gary. We reside at 2789 Dragonfly Way. You were talking about the rec area. In the original plans, when we all thought there was going to be a golf course and clubhouse, wasn't that property where you are going to build now, wasn't that deemed as recreational use?
That was, well, as a golf course, it was deemed as recreational use. Yes, but those aren't, golf courses are tricky in the county. You don't, if you build a golf course, they don't necessarily count toward your subdivision. They shouldn't count toward your subdivision because they're limited in how they're
Right.
used.
But in the initial plat that was presented to us, I believe that golf course acreage was part of the rec acreage.
The special exception called for it to be a possible golf course and/or environmental park, correct, Marilee?
Correct.
That's correct.
I saw whatever map I have shows the environmental park is being F and O and F were the golf course and clubhouse. And then another parcel was the environmental area.
Okay, there was a revision done in 13 or 14 that altered parcel F and O. And parcel O was given a designation as a possible golf course and or environmental park. And parcel N and R were also given
Tell anybody anything.
also given designations of environmental park and or agricultural park.
So this brings me to my question of all of these revisions, when we bought into this and all of these revisions are taking place, what makes the people that have bought into this believe what you're telling us as far as added amenities, paying into that sort of thing? Because what initially we thought was going to happen didn't happen. We can go back to the very beginning when it was supposed to be a 55 and over community only.
Mrs. Spurrier, what I'm going to say to that is, we will remain consistent with the governing document. And changes in a subdivision this side, this is not outside the norm. Thank you.
Can I ask everybody to mute while the person's talking, because there's a lot of background.
Thank you.
I think Kim, if you can mute right now, please. Thank you.
Did we ask Phyllis yet?
Nope, that's fine.
Phyllis Anderson.
Okay. 2804 Water Straight Away. So I put my question in the Q&A, and it relates to the information that the community is being provided. So the information provided by the HOA said that there's a 14-day cutoff for questions for the Wednesday meeting. And that information is not aligned with the information in the Anne Arundel County Code, section 17-2107 for community meetings. That code said the purpose of the meeting is to ask questions regarding the development. There's nowhere in the code that mentions anything about the 14-day cutoff. And so the Wednesday meeting is so that we can ask questions based on what the code says. I spoke to a couple of county officials, and the information about the 14-day open comment period relates to after there is a recording, and the recording would be on Wednesday. So,
Phyllis,
yes,
I can answer that. Marilyn, we've discussed that today. And what happens here, as you can hear, we're talking about some topics that aren't generally related to the specific technical. The meeting on Wednesday is a technical meeting. It addresses a lot of technical items. And generally the questions are related to those technical items that Marilee brings up. A number of these items that are being brought up tonight are not necessarily related to what this meeting is going to be Wednesday. That's why we're having this meeting today, to address some of the other items that wouldn't be considered in the meeting on Wednesday. Make sense?
So my question is, why are we providing information that says we could not ask questions at the meeting on Wednesday?
Unfortunately, that was a misstatement. The letters went out. What the intent is, you can't ask meetings that are unrelated to the topic, those particular subdivisions. But the letters went out to the county, said there would be a Q&A period.
The Q&A period, based on my understanding and talking with county officials, the open letter comment period starts after the county receives the recording, which is on Wednesday.
Kathy, I think I've answered your question.
Sorry?
I think I've asked your question. We will be taking on Wednesday.
At the meeting, we can ask questions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Rob Connolly.
Yeah, hi. Live at 2604 Wingstem in the Cascades. My question just two-part real quick. The first gentleman mentioned about the gym and the pool. Definitely the gym for sure. And the pool now more than ever, I've seen the overcrowding. And you mentioned that, there's the opportunity to add these funds, that kind of stuff. Is there a real life meat and potato plan of actually addressing those issues though? Like when he says he can't move in the weight room, I mean, that to me is a concern. That could be a safety concern. So what, just like off the top of your head, is there an ability to expand that gym space? Is there an ability to make the pool bigger? I mean, because if you're not going to build a new amenity, which it sounds like that's definitely off the table, what do we have to look forward to address these real life problems?
Well, Rob, you're saying they're real life problems, and we have to rely on information too that, when we understand that nobody's been turned away from the pool, and the reports for the pool this year show one day, I believe, got to 450 people throughout the course of the day on the sign-in sheet. Okay. And not all of those people were there at any one point in time. And the pool deck capacity based on the square footage of the pool is 614. So, we rely on some of these numbers to tell the story also, when we're processing these things, but those are real numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I
now,
understand.
As far as the gym, I can't answer you. I have not been in that gym and seen it. If it's a concern, the funds we're talking about are fairly significant, and we'll be working with the board through this process as we move forward.
Okay. Well,
I'm not like that.
You answered it enough for right now, I think. I mean, I think just a quick counter to that, I think the pool numbers can be skewed a little bit because I'm not sure if everyone was accurately signing in correct numbers, but that's another question. My other quick question would just be, if the new development that you have plans with these new homes, it looks like their only entrance and exit is to Myers Station. So to my understanding, they'll be coming out Myers Station to the circle, back up Conway into our development. Is that correct?
It remains to be determined through the approval process.
Okay, because that sounds like a disaster. And I mean, there's already the amount of traffic going into that one way, adding 200 more ohms of traffic coming to that entranceway just seems absolutely. And do the people know that purchasing that new land that they have a 15-minute drive to their amenities, if that's the case?
When they're buying, they'll know where it is, Rob.
All right. Thank you.
Rob Thomas.
Yes, sir. I live at 2606 Orchard Oriole Way. I just wanted to say that this is a wonderful neighborhood, and we walk the area every day, and we love it. So we appreciate all that you put in. My question was, I think, sort of just answered, but do you foresee with this new development the access to Myers Road happening for the rest of us?
We will be dealing with that through the subdivision process.
Is there any potential of another road other than Conway Road, a new road?
I'm not aware if the county has any plans of master plan road.
Okay. Well, with that new school going in there, I can say I think there's going to be some backups. We had one situation where the cable fell down on the road, and people couldn't leave for a while. So it would be great if you guys could really work that. That'd be awesome.
We understand the importance of the second access out on the Myers Station Road.
Perfect. Thank you.
John Tragesser.
Yep, that's me. 2996 Levy Drive. Yeah, so in 2016, when I bought my home, it was going to be 2,060 homes, and we were told that, and that was sort of a hard line. And we were promised an environmental park. So now you're taken away the environmental park? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, we incorporated an environmental aspect into the gardens with the fishing lake, which is environmental with the trails around it.
Okay. All right. And then the open space that you had on your map, and you had some acreage. How much of that acreage is wetlands and ponds?
The parcel O is currently under an active mining permit and subject to being reclaimed.
No,
So
I
it's
mean,
it's an active permit, just so you're aware.
okay.
The entire parcel.
In the development itself, in Two Rivers itself, you mentioned a large number of open space, the acreage I can't remember, but how much of that is wetlands and ponds, which is wonderful stuff, but it's not really, you know, I don't think of it as open space because I can walk on it.
Well, I can't answer the exact acreage, but that's those calculations were done years and years and years ago. And I will say that in the entire subdivision process, we disturbed less than a half acre of wetlands.
But that is incorporated in part of that open space is the wetlands, I assume, because it's
Yeah,
included in
wetlands
it.
are, Mary Lee, answer that.
The open space in Anne Arundel County, that is the purpose of it, is to preserve natural areas, forest, wetlands, streams, that type of thing. You might be thinking a rec area, that's a totally different thing, that's usable land.
No, okay, that's fine. I just wanted everybody to know that when you had this large number of acres for open space, a lot of that is wet. So it isn't exactly open like a lot of people think of
That's the purpose of open
wetlands.
space. The
Yes.
purpose of open space is preservation of
Yes,
natural areas.
I understand that. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Mary Lee, I'll add to that. I think what John's referring to, there's also a large area of floodplain that is not in these calculations.
That's correct.
That is wet. That's not in these calculations that we've provided. That's another 300 acres above and beyond. So Terry C. from Odenton.
Hi, I wanted to go back to the question of the developers' votes. I think what the people were getting at was this, you will have control over votes for a longer period of time because you're adding these homes. Is that correct?
Terry, we do not have, I mean, the community has more votes than the developer does. They can outvote the developer today. They will, even with the addition of these lots, they will still be able to outvote the developer. I keep hearing that we have control. The community has the ability to outvote the developer.
Well, that would call for a very concerted effort on only choosing one person, because your votes count more than if we're dividing them up between several candidates.
That's not how it works. That's actually not correct. If you're voting for 3 people, each homeowner votes for 3 people. They don't split their vote among 3 people. I think I've asked and answered. Can we move on to Adam, please?
Wasn't it?
I'm sorry, was she speaking? Don't want to interrupt.
I just wanted to also talk about the what you called the trail around the lake in on the garden area.
Yeah.
I want to interrupt real quick. Can we get Terry C's address? We didn't grab that at the beginning.
I'm sorry. 2681 Dragonfly Way.
Thank you.
That isn't, I don't consider that a trail. It's a tiny lake with a tiny walk around. Is there any more plans for nature trails other than sidewalks, or what I consider sidewalks?
Are you talking about, well, with respect to the one over in the Ag Park, the trail comes out and dead ends at Myers Station Road. During this process with this subdivision, we plan to extend that trail into the garden park area, down around the pond, and create a trail network that loops around the pond and comes back up. That would be a paved trail, okay? Rather than just a small little stone trail that's there today. We are proposing that as part of our, Marilee's got a term for it.
Interconnectivity.
Interconnectivity, I believe, for trail networks and stuff that's required during the subdivision process. So that will be added. Susan, if you're talking about natural trail, are you talking about natural trails?
Yes, like we have leading to the watershed pond.
Well, that's that's still a paved trail.
Okay. And then that's what I meant.
Yeah, yes. We are talking about extending, basically creating that kind of character down around into the ag environmental park and wrapping around the pond that's there and coming back up and joining back into the interconnectivity of the subdivision.
Okay. And one thing about the traffic, did the current homeowners, Forks homeowners, approve the using Myers Station Road in this new section?
I'm not going to get into the dialogue on the covenant tonight.
All right, thank you.
All righty. So this is Adam and Mr. Hankins. I appreciate the detail that you're giving here, and you mentioned the voting rights that the developer has. But does the community get any type of input as an HOA with respect to the approval process for adding additional lots, or do you all get to arbitrarily decide, I guess, through your work with the county, to just continuously add lots to the neighbor?
The master declaration provides for the expansion of the community.
And that comes with additional votes. Does that come with additional votes on the board as well?
It can, yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. And you had mentioned before the investments into the additional amenities. When would you envision having more specifics? Because it's kind of vague to say, well, we're going to make a significant investment into the amenities, but as my proud neighbor, I love you, Rob. I'm at 2610 Wingstem Circle, a couple of doors down from Rob Connolly. As he notes, it would be helpful to just have specifics as to what the plan is to expand the amenities, other than just making sort of a vague statement that there's going to be more investment into them. So is there a timeline on that?
The plan is I'm sure there will be a follow-up meeting with the board to start those discussions on what our plans are to do, and then they will share that with the community.
Thank you, sir.
Sue Taffler.
Can't hear you.
Sue, we cannot hear you.
You want to try Susan Schnur?
Okay, I'm going to go to Kim Tubbs.
You did.
Well, hello. You mentioned Susan Schnur. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Hi. I know you said you don't want to get in. Oh, first of all, my address is 2817 Water Strider Way in Riverview.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that you don't want to get into the specifics of the covenant. I do want to make the point that the HOA board is a signatory on the covenants, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of the membership. So I'd like to know what steps will be taken to find out, to poll the community, see what's in the best interest of the community, and will the membership have any input as you discuss the covenant? Because according to my reading of the current covenant with the Forks of Patuxent, first of all, the home sites are capped at 2060, and it also says that there shall be no development on the property formerly known as Mitchell or Turner property. And isn't that parcel O that you're seeking to develop?
Susan, I'm going to refer you to read the master declaration, specifically the language that references that we maintain the ability to amend and reserve the right without consent of lot owners or the HOA to amend the Forks covenant.
Without consent of any of the signatories? So
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to make sure you said you read the covenant. You need to read the master declaration. As far as the covenant is concerned, we're aware of the provisions of the covenant which would be related to this proposal. We have met with the Forks and let them know our intent to move forward with the proposal as it relates to the covenant. The Forks have failures and or breaches of nearly all material obligations on their part under the covenant. We will be continuing outreach to the Forks and will be working to resolve the matter of all parties and obligations and liabilities as we execute the proposal. I am not going to speak any greater detail on the Forks obligations or the covenants here tonight.
Then I would like to suggest that the membership contact the board, the HOA board, to make sure that the HOA board is acting in the best interest of the community. Because Dover, back in February, when you first announced the possible expansion, during the Q&A, a gentleman had asked if he could see the covenant, and you said, no, it's a private document. And
no, I did not. That's actually not correct. I've provided the document to the community. It's in the land records.
But in the Q&A, when he asked if he could see the document, you responded that night and said it was private.
That I made a mistake.
Okay.
Then I made a mistake if I said that. It's a public document.
Okay, thank you very much, Dover.
Okay. Sue Taffler.
She was having issues.
Yeah, Kim Tubbs.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Kim.
Can you hear us now?
My address is 1413 Bedstone Lane. And I have two questions. The first one is around your usability basis for the amenities. You spoke of, I think, 20%, and you're using that number as a basis for what we would have. And I would love to understand what that is based upon as far as other communities, and if that is an updated number or if this is a different community. It is truly a family-based, and it is. Do you guys not hear me?
No, Kim, I'm hearing you. Somebody talking over you. I'm trying to.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. So that was number one. That was my first question.
Yes, they did talk over you a little bit, but yes, what that slide represented is how the centers were typically designed and the criteria they're designed under. Okay, I understand there's a perception that they're overcrowded. Okay, but they are designed within and exceed industry standards. And for example, the Hamlet Clubhouse was always planned to have 1260 homes coming into the clubhouse. Okay, even with this, they're currently at 1,061. Even with this proposal, you will not have 1,260 homes coming into this clubhouse. And unfortunately, you could, when you add and add and add, you also add cost for the community to maintain these items. That's also important too. With it, more comes more additional cost to maintain, which has been a concern of the community. So do you have a second question?
And just to comment on what you said, the cost has been a concern, but from what I understand, the cost is a concern because of the overcrowdedness. We're paying for something that we can't always use. That's my comment there. My second question is from Beverly, and she lives at 2845 Crane Fly Lane, and she wants to ask about walkability in regards to children.
As far as where's Crane, I don't know about, I won't be able to get into that tonight. I don't know. I need specifics on what she's talking about with regard to walkability.
And
I mean, that sounds like an HOA question to me, because are you talking about with respect to the added or the existing community?
Hold on 1 second. I'm just trying to get the answer. We'll come back to it. I don't want to hold you up.
Okay, Kim, thank you. How about Ron?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, there you go, Sue.
How about that?
We haven't done anything different. Okay.
Magic of Zoom.
Sue Taffler, Chuck Coppock, 1484 Catbrier Way. I want to go back to the question of how the people in these new neighborhoods will access the clubhouses and pools. Is it possible to build a road from their neighborhood through, I guess, the estuary being the closest connection? Is that under consideration?
There is a connection that currently comes out on Meyer Station Road is planned to be emergency access, and we will be working. We'll be working to alter that access.
No, not asking about
we're talking about estuary and the new development.
the new development. How does the new development get?
Because they're right next to each other, and it looks like
Well, they would travel down Grays
subway.
Ford Road if the back entrance became a permanent entrance. They would come down Grays Ford and go through estuary.
Okay. So that means that we could also get to the gardens by coming out that way, presumably.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So how does that get decided, or what does that depend on?
Well, I'd like not to get into the specifics on that tonight.
Okay.
That's getting into a lot of detail. Just understand it's an intent to make it happen.
Thank you.
Okay, Ron Mascotti.
Can you hear me? It's Ron Massetti, 1538 Capriar Way. You kind of just addressed it. That was my question. The new development has 3 exit points into Meyer Station Road. The one out of estuary is emergency access. I understand that. And so obviously part of your approval process to get that access for the new development under Meyer Station. What was the reasoning, or what's the basis for it only being an emergency exit on the Meyer Station Road from estuary?
The covenant that's currently in place with the forks. The restriction they wanted to impose on you guys.
Okay, but you said it will, just to clarify, during the subdivision process, is that part of a discussion that can be addressed or opened up?
Yeah, the county has the full authority to deem it an access.
Okay, and so that process, whenever that next step
The county, just so you know, Ron, the county has already stepped in and said they don't want it gated.
Okay.
Fire and safety.
Okay.
Okay.
You've answered my
Kaylin?
question.
Okay, Kaylin and Janice. Kaylin, Janice.
Hi, I'm at 2840 Broadwing Drive in the Cascades. Just roundabout, when would development of the lot begin?
It would probably be about 2 years to get through the process.
Okay, that was just my question. Thank you so much.
See ya. Nicholas?
Good evening. I am in the Woodlands. This is Morgan, his wife. I just had some questions as a newer resident to the Two Rivers and first time dealing with HOA and developer. I know you had mentioned that there's a lot of rec space, approximately 38 acres. And as we were building our house with the builder, we were under the impression that there was a lot that was going to be happening with the developer. So I'm just wondering where those where is it outlined what the rec space actually is, what the open space actually is, and when do we get updates on when development is happening?
Marilee, I'm sorry. I'll get an echo there.
Hi, Steve Niss, can you please mute?
Sorry, Ms.
Thank
Nicholas.
you.
Can you go back and I heard most of that. But
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yes, I was wondering where some of those recreational spaces are outlined, as well as one of my concerns is that there's sections of sidewalk in the Woodlands that have been torn up and have been told that they're going to be recompleted. A bus stop has been addressed, but none of that has actually been formalized in communication or told when we should expect to see any of that. And then a follow-on question is, I know that tomorrow you're going to talk about the more technical aspects. And so I just wanted to ask you what you mean by technical requirements, because I have questions about, say, the power grid over here in the Woodlands and some other questions.
Well, generally, it talks about sewer, water. Marilee can get in that. There's actually a checklist that I think was sent out as an attachment, which is really the guideline attachment to this meeting, which references Wednesday's meeting is the guideline for that meeting on Wednesday. And as far as some of those items that you're asking me about now, you really need to reach out to the HOA manager, because a number of those things are under their purview at this point, and they can get you the answers.
So you're saying that actually when people are referencing developer, they mean HOA?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're, as far as an exhibit, I'll work with Marilee to work with management. You know, we can get an exhibit that identifies where active rec areas are throughout the community. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about there's a broken sidewalk or something like that, the developer may be punching the community out. I don't know exactly where you live in the wood. You said Woodlands, correct?
Yes.
But he's most likely doing his punch out and getting ready to surface pave roads if you're in the last phase. So, I mean, you're in the middle of construction and wrapping those up. Now, if it's in a completed section and there's something broken, you definitely need to put a ticket in through SourceLink and work with the HOA on those types of items. Now, doesn't mean it may not be a developer item, but they would be the point of contact to make sure it gets taken care of.
Okay, so that actually, I'm sorry, I took up some of the current business to talk when this meeting's about the new development, but that led me to the question of when you talk about some of these revisions that have been brought up, such as there was going to be a golf course or a environmental park, then we got neither because of a revision. When are those discussed, or then what's the process in which HOA gets to have that information out to the community and gather feedback and then give that feedback back to you, the developer?
Okay. That was a long time ago. That was back in 13 or 14. So before people were moving in, that was taking place. Okay. And what was referred to, there were two designations. There were parcel N and there's parcel O. Okay. And parcel N was identified as a community gardens and or an environmental park, okay? And then parcel O was identified as a possible golf course and or environmental park, okay? In essence, it made sense that that was incorporated into parcel N, because what we discovered as you move through this project, we have continued to see the pressure on fees, and more land to be maintained is more of a burden on your HOA fees and structure. So that's a conscious decision by us as the developer, and then ultimately working during this process to manage your community to a point and keep it within the subdivision regulations. So you have a viable community that doesn't become a pressure on homeowners, and then things don't get maintained like they're supposed to. So that's how the thought process evolves.
I appreciate that context. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Morgan. What's your last name and what's your address, please?
It's Haynes, Haines, and I'm on Daughter Way.
Okay, thank you.
Glenn Steinbach.
Good evening. I'm at 2834 Water Strider Way. And Dover, I wanted to ask you, beyond this parcel O that you're describing tonight for expansion, are there any other parcels that the developer has the right to develop and add to the Two Rivers community?
We don't have anything under contract, no.
Thank you.
Jessica Gordon.
Hi, this is Jessica Gordon. I'm at 2718 Grasshopper Drive. I appreciate the context of the technical aspects being discussed on Wednesday. Does that include the school district, as the elementary schools at almost capacity already?
Well, I think what will be referred to as the schools, one of the schools is currently closed at this point in time, but generally we have to work within the guidelines of the county laws with respect to that, and it will be referenced, and I believe one of them is closed at this point. But we'll have to address that during the subdivision process.
Okay, so that won't
whether
be,
they open up or whether
addressed
it's
on
for
Wednesday.
mitigation.
But that won't be addressed on Wednesday.
It will be, and we will not be addressing how it will. It's really just that, and that's what I want to make sure people understand. A lot of these items are they're all to be determined. The county has laws in place that we have to follow, and that will be an evolving process as we move through the approval process and gain comments from the county on how these things need to be dealt with under the laws that are required.
Okay, understanding, just knowing that I had children stranded when the cable came down on Conway and we couldn't get to our kids because nobody could get out of the neighborhood. So that's one thing. Separately on the clubhouse, when we talk about square footage, a large percentage of the Hamlet clubhouse is a basketball court area.
Understood.
Not necessarily usable for the community. So is there, within the regulation, is there a need to delineate between meeting space and, for lack of a better word, exercise area?
No, there's not. And actually, there's actually no regulations to even provide these types of amenities in the county. Just so you're
Right,
so you're
and
aware.
understanding. Yeah, but at the same time, you talk about adding, I was at one of the HOA meetings and I asked about the pool a while ago, because I would agree with earlier comments that the actual pool and probably the gym usage is not being accurately described or captured. So that's one thing. But I think the other thing is, at the beginning of this, you said there was going to be an additional revenue coming into the neighborhood. But at the same time, you're telling us that really that is going to be needed to maintain the roads, the sidewalks, the areas. So
That's not what I said. That there will be what I'm saying is there's revenue that will be generated from the additional lots. That's because of a lot of these costs are set now. It provides excess funds available to the community, keeps it healthy, keeps you from having to push your fees up, continuing to fund your reserves properly. In addition to that, we will be making a contribution to an amenity capital improvement fund, which is to be determined on what those improvements may or may not be.
It just seems to be that we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but I appreciate
that's
the
different.
comment. I'll
That's
be there
different.
on Wednesday. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Lori Mazurski.
Hi, this is Lori Mazurski. I'm at 1522 Catbrier Way. I'm also going to bring up the clubhouse for 55 plus as far as an amenity and keeping it a resort style place for our community to go and have socials. And currently we are using the ballroom at socials for eating mainly, and then having to clear out the entire open space for the dancing or whatever we're trying to do with our group. So I think what I'm hearing from the community is we're really hoping that with additional homes, we're going to be able to continue to enjoy our spaces. So I understand that there will be an amenity capital fund, but with that, could you provide actual plans for the fund that would result in the usage of the space being available to be expanded or used in a way that makes sense practically?
Marilyn, you got that question? I can't answer that now. Let Lori.
Yeah.
But we're taking that question.
Thank you.
Joshua.
Yes, this is Joshua from 3117 Daughter Way. I got a couple questions. I was wondering, is there any consideration for opening up a lease space for vendors to help contribute to the HOA for such a large community? My second question is, if they're going to open up, a access road on Patuxent Ridge Road, linking the 55 and older in Woodlands to go to the elementary school for a walkway? Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Both your questions, I'm going to have to refer. You have to refer to your management team and your HOA. They are both relevant to them, not us as the developer. Desiree. Okay, Dana Dolvin.
Hi, good evening. This is Yolanda Chesney Dolvin. I'm Dana's wife. He is here. I think I have more of a statement. I hear and understand what you say about technical requirements to adding new homes, but I would hope that there would be consideration or a lot of thought put into the safety of it as well. We've heard people talk about an overcrowded pool. When you think of children in those pools, you want to make sure that everyone is safe. And I understand there is a technical requirement that says you can have whatever that capacity is based on how large the pool, and the same thing for the road as well, considering safety. I believe I saw today posted, by the time I came home, the tree was moved, but there was another tree that was blocking Conway again today. Those are all safety issues. I think, kind of a grumble that we hear is like, okay, is someone going to have to get hurt before someone opens up that road or figures out a different way for us to come and go into the community? Once the school is opened, we'll be talking about school buses and children on those sidewalks. So I would hope that safety would be considered, and instead of just looking at, for the pool, for an example, a piece of paper that says so many people signed in, was that take a visit to that pool on a Saturday and look at the number of people that are there, and then consider, how you make decisions. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Lauren Ferris.
Hi, Lauren Ferris, 1183 Upper Patuxent Ridge Road in the Woodlands. Part of my question was kind of just talked about. I know that we're talking about expanding the community, and I am still concerned, especially with the school opening, about the access point for the Woodlands side, especially when Conway is blocked. And I know that you shared the breakdown of the various steps that would have to take place. And I would hope that as you're talking about expanding the community, that you, the developer, would consider doing anything you could and on your side of things to start that process and begin that process. My second question as a newer resident of the community is earlier, and I can't quite remember the resident's name, they mentioned trying to understand where the open space is. In general, do maps exist that show all the trails throughout the community and what the ones that are planned that you're mentioning would be expanding upon? And my my last question, and then I'll stop. My last question was with regards to earlier, someone asked you, is there any additional parcels of land that you're planning to develop on? And you said nothing is under contract. Does that mean that you're potentially considering others? It's just not currently under contract? Or does that mean this would be the last parcels developed?
Well, I mean, one of the delicate balances that goes in this is all these things that we're talking about. And when you can't, when you've developed enough that you can't develop anymore, what I'm telling you is there are other parcels of land that surround this community that we have not focused on. We're focused on what we own. And we don't have anything under contract. I'm just being honest, there is other developable land around this community, not necessarily, I don't know whether other developers are chasing it or not, but it does exist.
Okay. And then what about the maps and then the
maps, I can work with the HOA and Marilee to get kind of an overview that shows where things are at. And it's probably easier to put kind of highlight them on an aerial, so it gives you some frame of reference rather than a white page, big white plan with just black lines on it on top of an aerial. That makes things a little easier to see.
Yeah, I think that would just be a great resource for the community at large in general, and especially those that potentially might be buying and moving in. And then with regards to the Woodlands second access, I understand that phase 3 of the Woodlands currently is not going to get bus access or transportation to the elementary school, yet the kids are going to be walking on what supposedly is not a walkable road with no sidewalks to reach said school. I just think that needs to become an access road with proper sidewalk to give our side of the community the same level of access to the development, especially with Conway down with traffic or other things as we saw today, that the other side of the community is going to have.
Okay, Lauren, thank you for the comment.
Thanks.
PK Art Reg. I'm going to beat this one up here. Olu Muwaya.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So this is Olumewa at 3130 Daughter Way in the Woodlands. So 2 questions now about the amenities, the clubhouse, because I believe if you're expanding the community, you should make a room or like a parcel of land to build probably another clubhouse, because I mean it's going to get crowded. There's no getting around that. If you're adding more homes, expanding the community, I believe you should make plans to have probably another community, because I mean it's going to eventually put pressure on the current amenities right now. So is there a plan to like build another clubhouse with swimming pools and all of that in the works?
Okay, thank you, Ola.
Yeah, I asked the question. You didn't answer my question.
I mean, I can't answer. I mean, you made a statement. You said you think we need to do something.
Yeah, and I'm
That's
asking,
not a
are
question.
you planning? I asked the question. Are you planning on building another clubhouse with swimming pools in addition to the expansion?
No, we're not planning on an additional clubhouse to this community.
So I mean, so what is the plan in the work? Because you said something like you're going to be expanding the current amenities. What does that mean? Like expanding? Are you going to like make it bigger, or I mean, what do you mean by there's going to be an expansion?
What I said was that we plan on making a contribution to a capital improvement fund for amenities. The community will have to be involved in that process and what they want to use those funds for.
Okay, so because then the second question I have is like during the development of the woodlands, the developer didn't take into consideration that there has to be like a link road from Upper Patuxent Road linking to Conway Road, because now they're saying the power line is owned by BGE or whatever. They didn't take into consideration of that before building that road, because now we have to go all the way around Upper Patuxent Road to connect to Conway Road, whereas we have a shortcut here.
Is that a question? I mean, I'm listening to you. I mean, is there a question there?
It's a question, and the question was that during the development of the woodlands, the developer never made plans to have a connection from Upper Patuxent Road to link to Conway Road through the 55 plus section.
The county approved a connection for vehicular traffic at the west side, and they approved an emergency access only on the east side, where you're referring to. That's what the county ultimately approved.
Okay.
Okay. Lori?
Hi, Lori. I'm on Daughterway 3123. Thanks for your time tonight. Just general question, and you might be talking about this on Thursday, so please just let me know if that's when you'll address this. But in doing some research on the general plans of development for Anne Arundel County and reading over Plan 2040, I was just hoping you could talk a little bit on how adding these new homes to the Two Rivers community aligns with some of the vision aspects of that. So I'm sure you're not like, drilled in on that all the time. So a few of those points that are called out are, resilient, environmentally sound, sustainable communities, new and improved infrastructure, strategic economic growth, and then community care. So as I think of adding new homes to a community, especially, converting what would be a conservation area or a golf course into homes, increased usage of roadways and amenities that we've talked ad nauseum tonight are at capacity to us, it feels. Our homes themselves are just continuing to go up in price. So in terms of, strategic economic growth, it's not really adding mixed income opportunities for those in lower brackets. Just wanted to hear, are you planning on Thursday or separately addressing how this development aligns with that overall Plan 2040 for the county?
I have not looked at that. And that's something I'd have to sit down with the engineers and discuss, but at this point, I have not, just so you're aware.
That is not an item that we address at the community meetings.
Okay. Thanks for your honesty on that. I think it would be something that would be interesting to hear, since that's, the overall development plan for the county itself. And, as members of Anne Arundel County, any development that's made, we would want to make sure it's done in the best interest of the total county's vision. And some of the things jump out as being out of line with that. So, would be curious if there would be any follow-up on that. But thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Jody?
Hi, I'm 3128 Daughter Way. I know that currently we pay an extra tax for the construction of Two Rivers Elementary. With this new community coming in potentially and an all ages section that would almost definitely take an already at full capacity before opening school over capacity. If they had to do enhancements to it, would that be additional taxes that would fall on us as a community as well that we need to be considering?
No, you paid your taxes and your fees through your subdivision process.
Okay. And is there anything that's being considered in order of addressing the fact that Anne Arundel County doesn't have any more land for schools and this school is at capacity and we're talking about adding 175-ish families?
Yeah, that will all be addressed through the subdivision process.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. I'm going to take 3 more questions. Steve Ness.
Hi, it's Teresa and Steve here. Turn yours
Hey,
on.
Teresa, how you doing?
Hey, good, Dover. Thank you for taking questions tonight. We appreciate that. I just have to hammer home the importance of the emergency exit. It's been in discussion for a very long time. We have lived here since 2016. I beg your pardon, we live at 2998 Levy. We and many of our neighbors and other people in the 55 and older communities are very concerned about having so little access out of the community if there was ever anything to happen, either at the school, on Conway, any kind of construction, especially now you're talking about construction on Meyer Station. There has been discussion for a long time about this emergency exit. And it seems to me, and I will give my opinion on this, I think it's very short-sighted not to be addressing that very important consideration for every person who lives in this community, both sides of Conway, before we start jumping into, what's the number? 2060. Oh, no, that's the current, whatever the number is of the new houses. Because not only is it going to be new homes and all of that traffic, it's going to be the construction traffic on Meyer Station. And we know what the construction traffic is like. We have lived here for 8 years and been, involved in that and been held up by it and had issues with it. So I know that you're looking farther down the road. I just have one other concern is about your timeline. Are you talking about that new revenue when those homes are going to be completed, like 2027 to 2030?
Are you talking about the contribution, or are you talking about general? I mean, just as the project's been phased, revenues come in as they start paying fees.
Who?
Are you
Who
talking
pays
about
the fee?
Are you talking about HOA fee revenue, or are you talking about the capital contribution that I'm referring to?
I am talking about both because
Okay.
You had said that you thought that maybe this construction homes wouldn't be sold for another 2 years because the permitting process goes for 2 years. Is that correct? So that's
correct.
then 2026 at least, maybe 2027. So then this new revenue to help us with the overcrowding that we have in both the hamlets and the villages, clubhouse, pool, etc., all of the amenities, isn't even going to be part of this until we have HOA contributions of the $900,000. Is that what you said?
Well, the $900,000 is operating capital.
Okay.
Annually,
Okay.
okay. That's operating capital. I'm talking the contributions will be as we move through the approval process. So it'll be phased in as we are. I mean, that's all up in the air right now. I mean, of the timing of that. I mean, obviously, the contribution wouldn't be made till we have certain levels of approvals.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you see I know, but I also know that part of this covenant discussion, it sounds like it's part of this emergency exit. Is that correct?
Yes. Now,
That's really
that access, what the nice thing is, that is an emergency access today, and it is paved now. So it's definitely, if there's an event on Conway Road, you can get in and out of the community. You got to get through the construction site, but it is a paved road now.
Yes, we drove down Meyer Station the other day and saw it. And it's, yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much, Dover.
Thank you. Emily, and this will be the last question.
Hi there. Excuse me, I have a cold. Emily Kund, 1306 Heron Rookery. I've got a few questions, or a couple of questions. One is I'd like to know what subdivisions or communities are comparable to Two Rivers. The closer, the better. So I'll start with Anne Arundel, and then we could move out. So I'll pause so that you can provide that information.
Well, I mean, if you're, what do you mean by comparable?
I mean, like of similar size and like similar homes in in a suburban area. I mean, similar to like what you would consider comparable from a real estate appraisal perspective.
Yeah. I mean, Two Rivers is a tricky one. It's kind of unique. It's a very large landmass. In landmass, it's comparable to Piney Orchards. Okay.
Okay.
Piney Orchards has, I think, 4 to 4,500 homes or so. Now they have components of apartments, townhouses, single family detached, and townhouses. More of a mixed type subdivision of product types, where Two Rivers is generally single family detached. And there's actually and what makes it unique is while there are some attached products, villas in the age restricted sections, it's generally been all detached community. And, it's one of the few all detached communities currently under development. You're not seeing much of this anymore. You're seeing townhouse communities, and those types of communities in the county, predominantly in North County. If you go over into Crofton, they're older. I mean, you got a community like a Chapman Farms.
You can make adjustments for those. I mean, just like an appraisal, just like with any appraisal, you would make an adjustment because nothing is going to be 100% the exact same. There's always going to be some variation. So if you say Piney Orchard, would you put Seven Oaks in that category as well? Since from a land...
Seven Oaks is more, yes. As far as large PUDs, you're talking about, you had Walden, which was 900 or so units. You had Seven Oaks that goes back that's the 80s, 90s, and then you have Russet. You have subdivision, but those generally have a large component of attached product in it.
Right.
And landmass wise, I don't know if they're is the size of this community.
Seven Oaks is pretty big though. Anyway, so that's question one. Question two is, and I don't need the explanation right now, but it would be really helpful for me if you could provide or point me to the point me to specific location of a methodology to determine the ratio for determining capacity for amenities or infrastructure. For example, when you say that it's determined that, I forget your exact language, so I'm kind of paraphrasing based on what I heard, that the amenities are sufficient or have taken into consideration, I'll say, I think it's maybe 2060 homes. And so, the feeling that I think others have expressed is that it feels crowded. I know for me, the fitness center is crowded, so I have to pay an additional $120 for my family to go to another gym because I can't access that one at the time I need to access it. So that's why I want to understand what the formula or methodology is for determining that.
Well, at that point, you rely on your architects when you're, the professionals back during the planning process. And when you have a jurisdiction that doesn't necessarily have laws, which most of them don't when it comes to sizing these, it's generally related to, what's been done in the past and how they manage. And generally, an age-restricted community is based on these discussions, is their size based on 10 square foot per unit that's going to come into the community, and non-age restricted is 6 to 7. And it's always a very delicate balance. I get we have a young community where we have a lot of people moving in with young families that are beginning to age in place, but it's also keeping a community viable over time. And you can overbuild these. More, is an easy word. People want more, and when you build these communities, you got to be careful not to overbuild them, so they cause problems with affordability for maintenance later. That is a very real concern. There are communities out there that have now gone out. I'm hearing pools, for example. There's communities that are now rent their pools. It's actually against the subdivision regulations, but they don't see the use of the pool like they used to when the kids were young, and now they're renting. And the pool is one of your single largest budget line items for 100 days a year. For about 25% of the year, it's your single largest budget item, and it becomes one of your most contentious items. Now, comparatively, if you're talking about Piney Orchards, I believe they have 3 pools in 3 different centers, but for over 4,500 homes. Okay, and we've looked at this facility in this pool versus those pools, and for 1,200, 1,300 units, we actually are more square footage of pool and deck area than I believe they are. So it's all comparable. I mean, it goes in the thought, because if you overbuild, it becomes expensive for the community to maintain later.
I can totally appreciate that. Okay, so thank you for that. And then really the last thing I have is just another statement. I know that this is the piling on effect, but I think it's important for every voice to be heard. And I just want to share a quick story. I was on my way out to an appointment, and I was on Conway where the guardrail is when the emergency vehicle was coming the other way. Traffic had nowhere to go. And I had nowhere to go. I couldn't move over to my right because there's a guardrail. I couldn't move over to my left because that's where the emergency vehicle needed to go. And there were also other vehicles trying to get to move over. I was praying that because I kept going, because I couldn't stop and pull over, that I did not increase the time for that emergency vehicle to get to that residence or whoever needed it. And so I share that because nobody should have to feel like a guardrail or they continuing to move, operate their motor vehicle is what's going to be potentially a life or death or a complete destruction or whatever the emergency is. And so I wanted to share that because it was weighing on me, and that is the real impact of not having infrastructure that supports a community of this size. So
Emily, I appreciate that. Now, and closing on the questions, that is why the county has made Conway Road a priority. Okay. They recognize that Two Rivers has paid a significant amount of impact fees into the programs, and the county is diligently moving forward. I don't have all the specifics on it, but I know they've reached out to where we still own land, asking for right-of-ways. We're working with them so they can acquire the right-of-ways to step in and make Conway Road, alter Conway Road. And I think it's generally going to be still a 2-lane road, but it's going to have shoulders that would allow you to pull off when you have those types of situations and be a little wider to be passable, but still generally find its same character. And then I believe a trail network along it. But I have to applaud the county because once they got involved in that, it takes a little while for these things to go through the process, but they jumped all over it. They're working hard to get it in place. They recognize the Two Rivers has paid a significant amount of impact fees, and they're putting it back into the road networks for the community.
thank you for that.
Okay. With that, I appreciate everybody coming out. I thank you for your time. you know, if you have, you know, I will be, I'm sure, following up with, now that this is moving through the process, I'm sure I'll be asked to meet with the board and discuss this and have conversations about this project moving forward and working to address your concerns. And like I said, we have laws that we have to meet to be able to move the project forward. So, again, thank you for your time, Marilee. Thank you. And all the members, I think there was 260 or 270 people. I will remind everybody, I'm glad we're doing this meeting tonight. The meeting Wednesday is at the library. It's going to be limited space. I think we only have 100 seats available. Just want to make everybody aware of that. I mean, that's specific. We knew there was going to be a turnout. So, and that venue doesn't hold any more than 100 people. So I just want to make everybody aware of that. I'm hoping we answered a lot of that tonight, a lot of these questions tonight. Thank you. Have a good night.